beat up with a bunch of things in her life. And I was still trying to save her and save everything and make everything work. And so I dug in very hard. And one thing about him, one thing about me, is I've been accused of being toxically optimistic, toxically positive. So I was going to make this work because my mom and dad made it work. So I was going to make it work. So, after 15 years of struggling, I did get the farm off the ground and made it work. But the family life was not good. It was really, really bad. And it wasn't going well. All sorts of things happened. And so I decided to do a completely crazy.
Welcome to the Resilient Minds podcast, stories of grit, growth, and success. On this show, we focus on the real stories behind the success, the struggles, the resilience, and the courage it took to keep moving forward even when times got tough. My goal is to provide you with stories of hope and transformation, showing that no matter the challenges, there is a way forward, and you can find it. This is Resilient Minds.
Hey, I'm your host, Dr. Campbell, and I'm here with Jody Durand, and he was originally born and raised on a farm, but he moved into sales, and now he's an author and speaker, and he has a beautiful story of resilience to share with us. Thank you so much for joining.
Good day. I'm very happy to be on the program. I did listen to a few of your podcasts, and I feel vastly underqualified to be on. But anyway, hey, I'm on. So.
There's people of all different lifestyles, and everybody has different levels of success, whatever it is for them. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is bring stories of resilience that each one of us, we have our own growth story. And anybody who's been through a transformation really understands the power of truly working on ourselves. So why don't you go ahead and start by telling us what you do right now?
Okay, well, now I am an author, and I've been working in sales for about 23 years now, after denying myself my sales career the first 37 years of my life, I guess. I live in Scotland, Ontario, which is kind of an hour and a half from Toronto, on a 3-acre farm with my wife, and we have dogs and chickens and a few different of everything you could think of. And we're both agriculturalists, I would say. I still work full time. She's trying to retire, but hard to retire when you own your own business. And I got 4 kids and 7 grandkids, and a lot going on in my life. Sure.
It sounds like a lot going on, but very peaceful too on the farm. Or is that I didn't grow up on a farm, so I don't know how much work
Right.
that is.
No, it's great. It's 3 acres. So 3 acres it's mostly grass cutting, which is fun, really. I tell my wife, oh, I gotta go cut grass. She's like, you don't have to cut grass. You want to cut grass because you can pretend you're a farmer driving your little tractor around. So
It's the little things in life. What got
yes.
you into being an author and a speaker? How'd that start?
Well, that is a good question. So I mean, I've been a speaker since I was a little kid. I won a few public speaking contests in grade school. And then of course we get wrapped up in our lives, and I grew up on a really nice farm, really very warm, loving family. Like I like to call it Walton Mountain. If anybody of your listeners are that age, they know that Walton family show on TV. We really had a beautiful family, mom, dad, and 4 of us. And then there was 2 more additions later on, and we had 6 kids, and everything was sailing along pretty nicely. I was 18 years old, and I said to my dad, I think I'm going to, I really didn't pay much attention in school. I was not the best student. And I said to my dad, I'm going to come home after high school and farm. And he's like, well, not really. You're going to go to college and grow up a bit first, kid. And so off I went to college. And then inside those 2 years, my 41-year-old dad got lung cancer and died just like that. And so my life just got turned upside down. I was planning to farm with him. We would have been extremely successful. And then things just fell apart. Unfortunately, I had five brothers and sisters at that time, from 21 down to 3 years old. And my mom, who was a lovely lady, and a really good mom, but she was surrounded by reminders of my dad everywhere. Couldn't get away from it, no matter what. And I mean, everybody that's listening here has been through loss or a death in their family. And, for the first month or two, people ask you about it. And then they kind of expect you're over it, which is really silly because you never get over it. You just get used to it. And, but for my mom, since my dad was so young and they were both so young, and he was so involved in the community and sports and church and politics and all sorts of stuff. I mean, 12 months later, it was still, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about your husband. I loved Andy. He was such a nice man. And she's just like, I need to get out of here. I can't do this anymore. Like, sad is sad, but I got to escape. So my mom said, I'm selling the farms and I'm moving. And this was 1986. And so at that point, nobody wanted to farm. It was a terrible time. And so I thought, geez, if I'm going to farm, I better buy one. So I bought the one of the four farms. And then I set out for the next 25 years to try to duplicate what they had, which was being a husband, being a father, being a successful farmer. And that is where the story starts.
Yeah. What's interesting is you said that you didn't give in. I think those are the words that you use. You didn't give in to your sales career for 30
Right.
something years. So you
Yes.
started out trying to replicate what your parents had. Was that inauthentic or did that
No,
sh
no, that was very authentic. My mom and dad were very successful farmers, so I wanted to be a successful farmer just like they were. And they were also a very successful couple and had family and was nice and loving, and I wanted all that. And but this is a bit of a silly sideways comment. But my dad, when I was like 7 years old, said, "Hey kid, you better stay in school because you don't want to end up to be an underwear salesman." And this was back before Victoria's Secret, so there was no underwear salesman out there. All I heard was underwear and salesman, and connected the two as a bad thing. Being a salesman was bad, but people would meet me and say, "Oh, you got to come work for us. You could sell anything." I'm like, "Nope, nope, I'm not going to be a salesman. I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer." And I just kept pushing it away and pushing it away and pushing it away. So, yeah, that's that's how. And so it wasn't until I got married, had four kids under 7 years old by the time I was 30, with a wife at the time that really wasn't really up for being a farm wife and being a mom, and had not been raised in the same family as I had been, and really had been pretty beat up with a bunch of things in her life. And I was still trying to save her and save everything and make everything work. And so I dug in very hard. One thing about him, one thing about me, is I've been accused of being toxically optimistic, toxically positive. So I was going to make this work because my mom and dad made it work. So I was going to make it work. So, after 15 years of struggling, I did get the farm off the ground and made it work. But the family life was not good. It was really, really bad. And it wasn't going well. All sorts of things happened. And so I decided to do a completely crazy thing and sell my farm. And I opened up a telemarketing call center,
Hmm.
which was at the time, this was around 1999 or 2000, uh, a bit of a thing in Canada because Canada had a very favorable exchange rate to sell into the US. And our accent in Ontario is very neutral. So I could be calling you in California or Boston or Florida or Chicago, and I'd sound like the guy next door. And we have that kind of warm Canadian warmth that would come over the phone. And so there was quite a few call centers that sprouted up at that time.
Yeah.
And so that is where my life, which was already going not that great, went even worse.
Right. To me, it
Yeah,
sounds like you had one area of your life which was doing really well, the farm, right? And then there was,
yeah.
it sounds to me like you were thriving in that area, but sinking in the relationship. And did you
Yeah.
give it both at the same time in order to shift?
Yeah, because being a farmer, it's like being in any business, really. It's just you have to have a couple. You have to have two halves of the relationship pulling in the same direction. And my ex-wife at the time, or my wife at that time, was not really pulling in that direction. We were never that happy about being a farmer. And then, it was a pretty lofty expectations. My mom and dad set a bar pretty high for everyone, and I think she felt like she was trying to achieve that as well, which was unreasonable, of course. And so,
So then did you open the call center to try to keep the marriage?
yes,
Oh.
absolutely, I did. I thought, well, if this doesn't work, and she's never happy with the farm, no matter what, we're going to try this call center thing to see if this works. And it took off, and it was going okay the first year, and it ended up we had to sell the farm to move to a town where I could operate in a more profitable manner. And that, of course, it was going okay. The marriage still was really based on it was really based on a good support system. It really was. I was just young and naive, like a lot of people are when they get married when they're 21 years old. I was just young and naive, and thought things would be different and expected they would be, and pushed past several stop signs thinking, no, I can fix this. I can do this. I can make this work. And then, of course, 2001, 9/11 hit, and everything fell apart. Like the whole call center business just completely tanked. And that was it. The bottom fell out. And not only that, but the 2 years that I was in the business, a rather dishonest partner in the US we had was not paying us. And they not paid us about $100,000 the first year and about $200,000 in the second year. And that was just too much for
Wow.
me to keep going. So I basically drained all the equity I had trying to keep things afloat. And in the meantime, I also really put my whole family at risk because I was responsible for what happened. And so that just solidified the end of the marriage, I would say, as well.
Right.
And then when things were at their absolute worst, my mom got killed in a car accident within 6 months of 9/11. So it was just a horrific time. I was, I had a really deep faith background, so I would sit in church in London, where my call center was, London, Ontario, by myself, nobody in church, just sit there thinking, God, please get me out of this mess. So somehow, like, help me, help. And I never would ask for help because I thought everybody else needed help because it was going to work out for me fine. But at that point, I realized it wasn't. And
It's
so, yeah,
it's interesting that you say that because from my experience, of course, I've had to go through it as well as a lot of other people that I know. The inability to ask for help usually partners with the mentality, I can make it work. I can make it work. So those
yeah,
individuals who just it's part of a resilience mindset that, but you use those words beautifully, toxic optimism. It
yeah.
make us think, oh, I'm fine, I can do without. I'll, give that to somebody else, or I don't need help, I'll figure it out. And then that inability to detach from things that are just not working, I find it very common that they go together.
Yeah, it's funny, Jacqueline, that you're here and I'm looking at the screen and you look like a lady. God bless her. She's not with us anymore. She passed away. She was my financial advisor, and she was actually the last person I really connected with before I quit the call center. And I remember I was sitting with her and I cashed out the rest of my investments. And she was sitting across the table with me, and she put her hand on my arm and she said, Jody, you don't have to keep going.
Mm.
You don't have to keep going. You can stop. And that was the only time I ever heard you can stop. By that time, I mean, I was so far down, it didn't matter anyway. Whether I stopped or not, I was still going to crash. But literally, that was the time when I bottomed out. Actually, no, it's there's one more time that was a bit worse than that. When
Oh,
I thought I thought I had the so this basically after 9/11 hit and the call center was empty and I had no business. And I thought, oh, maybe I can sell the business, even though it was empty. I thought maybe you can just get something for it. So I met a gentleman from another city about an hour away. And he said, yeah, I'm interested. And so I drove to see him. And when I drove into his building, got up to his office, looked around, I thought, there's no way this guy's buying this business. He's just tiny. And right away I was getting that vibe. And I was driving home from that thinking, I have nothing left. I have no more rabbits to pull out of any hats. And I'm driving down the highway, a freeway, and the front tire falls off my car. And the car goes careening out of control across 2 lanes, back and forth, with all these big semi trailers going past me on both sides.
Oh, wow.
And at that moment, I'm actually thinking, maybe I can just get killed and my kids can get insurance money. At least that can happen.
Yeah.
I wasn't asking to be killed. I wasn't suicidal,
Right.
but there was a bit of a relief valve. And then I crossed over the lane for the last time. It was about 30 seconds on the road. And then I hit the gravel and my car came to a stop. And the tire went bouncing by me so joyfully in the ditch. And the tire was almost doing a bit of a F you. You're not getting killed today. You're going to fix this.
Oh,
and I so I picked up, opened the door, grabbed the tire, stuck it on the car, and drove to the mechanic. And yeah, that was the bottom. That was in my book. It's called the triple bottom. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so when we think about things and we look back, sometimes it is funny, but sometimes it's like this bittersweet, like I can't believe that I lived through that. Like whatever it may be. Sometimes it's actual like your life depended on it, and sometimes it's like no, like I was mentally and emotionally I was dying, right? And I can't believe that I came back from that. What was
Mm-hmm.
that climb out of that? What was that like?
Well, there's a few different things there. First of all, on the marriage front,
Yeah.
like Catholic farm boys from Huron County
Mm.
don't get divorced. They don't break up with their wives. They don't leave. They don't. So I was thinking I'm going to burn in hell if I leave my wife, or I'm thinking all my friends are going to not be friends with me, or all my family's going to, or all my kids are going to turn against me, or I don't know what. But I was just scared. But I realized I couldn't stay. There was physical things going on. It was not good. And so I thought so that part of it took an enormous amount of courage. I just thought, it was basically what's worse, staying or taking the chance and doing this thing. So I just took the chance. So that was the one thing. That was the marriage side of the equation, which absolutely dissolved. And then I had to start over. And then on the employment side of the equation, the whole time that I was building up to this call center and owning it, I've been asked to sell for various companies. And then when I got in the call center, I realized I really love sales. Like I got on the phone myself a bunch of times and I did really well. And I thought, holy crap, this is pretty fun, actually. I mean, and I just think, man, if I could just do this in my regular life and not deal with all these phones and stuff, this might not be so bad. And so I had actually verbally accepted a job offer from a feed company in 1998, and then on the way home, I said no, not going to do it, and then I did the call center instead. So I called that company back 5 years later, and said, okay, I'll start now.
Oh, wow.
And that was 2003, January. And I just took off like a rocket. And I was just fantastic at sales. Like I did better than anybody they'd ever seen for 30 years. And they're like, wow, how is it you're doing so good? Why are you so good at this? I'm like, I need money. I need food for my kids. I just want money. I just want something. And then I sort of settled down and started really enjoying it and embracing it. And I thought, this is really great. Sales is not being an underwear salesman. Sales is really about helping people and influencing people to positively improve their business, or make them lose less money or make more money or whatever. And it's really about helping people. And I loved it, and it was fantastic. And within 2 years, I was coaching people how to do sales.
Yeah.
It just took off like a rocket. So
And so I'm sure being happy and feeling free and feeling in your element all goes into the psychology of sales, because you're
yeah,
right. If you're trying to make a sale because you're desperate and you're unhappy, like the people that you're talking to, they know that, they can feel
yeah,
it and sense it. But if you're genuinely authentic, if you care about them, you're trying to help and you're really connecting because you feel just confident, then
yeah.
sales actually happen.
Yeah, that's right. It's very hard to explain. Like I wrote this book, and the guy who wrote the book was like, "You should write another book on sales." And I do sales training, and somebody's like, "Well, Jody, what makes you a good salesperson?" I'm like, "Oof, that's a good question. I don't really know what's. It's hard to put it into words. It's like playing football. Like when you're running with the football, you don't think like I'm going to turn left here because this guy's. No, it just happens, right?
Right.
Boom. And so when you're on a sales call, you might have some thoughts of what you're going to do, but it just kind of happens naturally sometimes. And with everything, you just get better over time, and you get confident. And then you are in control. But at the start, it is a bit of an out of body experience, I would say, when you're in there. It
Well,
just happens.
when you're talking about it, what I hear is you're authentically in the flow, right? And then
Yeah,
I'm sure you experience that too when you're on stage, because you're a speaker as well. When you're writing, when you're speaking, and when you're genuinely connecting with people, we go into the state of flow. It's flow consciousness. And so we're
yeah,
zigging and zagging and we're really not paying attention because we're in our space of creativity. And it's
yeah.
fun, it's energizing.
It is the best. It is the best. I joined Toastmasters when I was at the call center to try to build my network of business. But it was just great. I just loved it. Toastmasters. It's fantastic. It's a great way to learn how to speak, and to get the nuts and bolts down of your hand gestures and pausing and no ums and ahs and all those things. But you're right. It's a real high, and I've never met a microphone I haven't liked since.
I like that. But like, yes, that's a good way to verbalize it, because you do get high, right? And if you're not getting high doing it the most legal and ethical way, guys, okay?
Yeah,
But if you're not getting high doing what you're doing, it's probably not the best fit.
yeah,
It's
right.
okay to let go.
Yeah. I can tell, Jacqueline, you also can feel that, like you're just getting the energy from your audience. Like
Yeah.
you can just see their faces, you can see their smiles, you can see their eyes, and that just feeds you. And if they start looking at their phones, you're like, oh, I better turn my tact here, or ask questions, or do something different. But
Right.
you're right, it's very addictive, and it's a lot of fun. And really, yeah, I'm not doing this to make $1 million. I'm doing this really. The book was written to help people, because I've been through a terrible bunch of stuff. I mean, there's lots of people that have been through a lot worse stuff than me. Like I'm not a hero or a savior or anything, but I have met a lot of men that are 50 plus that say, "I read your book, Jody, and you know what? I got to tell you, I've been through some stuff." I'm like, "Oh yeah, what?" And then they start talking, and then all of a sudden 2 hours passes, and they're like, "We're going to talk about your book. I want to talk about your book," but they almost have a license now to share their own story. And men in particular, maybe it's just men in my world, because they're conservative kind of farm guys, and they're kind of we're just going to work hard and no one's going to complain and just get through this and blah blah blah, which is just baloney. It's baloney.
You said it, just get through this. It's like the push through mentality doesn't, they can't let go. And I think
Yeah,
society, unfortunately, has kind of shaped a lot of men to believe that if I push through, that's grit. Not necessarily. You have to
yeah,
reframe, you have to shift, you have to morph, sometimes step back, sometimes pause, so you can build grit when you take a step forward, not pushing through because you're really not paying attention, right?
yeah.
You're probably carrying a lot of things that you should let go of too.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and then I would say that the book really did release it. Like I wrote the book in 2024, and really the book is about my life to 2005.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's about my life. So people are like, "Why didn't you write it in 2006?" or 2010 or 2015. Or why? Because my life wasn't that awesome then. My sales career has been really great, but now I'm married for 13 years to the loveliest lady, and she knows me and she understands me and she keeps me safe because I'm a reckless guy, I think, at times, and I would say yes to anything. And she's the conservative. She's the firm hand, as us Durand boys like to say. Our mom was a firm hand. We need to be married to women that are firm hands that can keep us safe.
It's the
Yes.
salesman mentality. They're just so fun and free.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we hop off today, what is the name of your book for the listeners?
So the name of the book is Country Boy Soul. There it is. And it is available on Amazon. You can get it through Kindle or Audible, or if you find me on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, you can just message me directly, and I can send you an audio version separately, which is a little bit cheaper than Audible if you don't have an Audible version. So yeah, that's all the places it's available. And or if you're somewhere close to Ontario, then just reach out to me and I'll drop it off at your house. I'm a traveling salesman, so there you go.
Such a gracious offer. Thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your story.
Thanks very much for having me, Jacqueline. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining. Your time and your focus are your most valuable currencies, so thank you for giving that to us today. Our guest contact information will be in the description below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. But please, if you know someone who's struggling, stop right now and send this video to them. The struggle behind growth and success is real, and they need the support to make it, because the strongest minds are the ones that healed. So don't forget, lead louder, feel deeper, and stay resilient. Until next time, this is your host, Dr. Campbell, on the Resilient Minds podcast.